On December 31st, Thargoids attacked the Coalsack and Witchhead nebulas en masse. But even so, the pilots of the Anti-Xeno Initiative were able to respond incredibly quickly. Despite the fiercest resistance that the pilots of the AXI had seen yet, we persevered, and through a massive retaliatory strike, the Thargoid menace was driven away from the people living in these regions. But it came at a cost, with Aegis being severely underfunded and the galaxy being poorly prepared for an incursion of this scale. Millions of innocent lives were lost. The members of AXI came to the swift conclusion that an attack of this scale could not be allowed to happen again. And so, Operation Guardian was devised, a long-range scouting expedition to investigate distant nebulas with active human outposts within for Thargoid activity, and to support the factions living in those outposts. This is Operation Guardian. The California Nebula is a massive nebula 1,000 light-years away from the bubble, stretching 68 light-years across. Inside are hundreds of young stars, with pristine worlds inside. And something else. In this very nebula, on June 5th, 3302, Thargoid barnacles were discovered on several planets in the region. And with the recent attacks being preceded by the discovery of barnacles and other Thargoid resources in the region, it was imperative that these barnacles be reinvestigated. On arrival, the barnacles seemed long dead. Drained of resources and with their barbs broken, it seems that nothing had been there in a long time. After a short while, however, this survey was temporarily cut short, because 89 light-years away, in a small nebula around a B-class star, someone was about to join our journey. This is the AXI Icarus, owned by the very person who created this trip, Commander Katie Byrne, a director of the Anti-Xeno Initiative and a renowned Thargoid killer. And with her in the nebula, we could continue to survey the entire region. After searching for quite some time, no Thargoid interceptors had appeared at the barnacles. If they had been here before, they were long gone by now. But knowing that the barnacles were still here, and some of them still active, was enough reason to head to our next nebula, the NGC 1333 Nebula. And, like Katie said in her video, from a distance, this thing is ugly as f***, but inside, it is spectacular. Once we arrived, we headed for Ring Mine to donate credits that would support their efforts in the region. Orbiting a planet with spectacular rings, this asteroid base was established alongside several others to support explorers and other types exploring deep space nebulas. Meanwhile, as we were doing this, the Somnium and Icarus were both headed for the next leg of the journey, Outodds. The Outodds sector itself borders the permit-locked regions near the Cone Nebula, a place heavily suspected to be a hive of Thargoid activity. We would soon discover whether or not Thargoids still had a presence there. After the survey of the nebula was complete, we commenced onward, almost 1,000 light-years east to the Orion Nebula, and, consequently, Barnard's Loop. Barnard's Loop, in real life, is an emission nebula that originated in a supernova explosion 2 million years ago. It's estimated at around 100 to 300 light-years wide, and has created several runaway stars. The Orion Nebula itself is one of the brightest nebulas in the night sky, and, as a result, is one of the most studied objects in a night sky. After quite some time, we finally arrived in the Orion Nebula, just outside of the system containing the Orion Nebula Tourist Center. Before we moved on, however, our nav computers picked up something strange, a notable stellar phenomena. We decided to go have a look, and what we found was absolutely stunning.
My head is like all crazy colors.
Don't open the hatch.
But after a while, we had to move on. After jumping the few jumps that remained, we finally arrived at the Orion Nebula Tourist Center. And, as with the NGC 1333 nebula before us, we made it a point to donate to the local factions in the region. And, for now, we would finally rest. The next leg of the journey, 1,000 light-years upward, awaited us. Outodds.